Check, check. Quick sound check. Can everybody hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear, Coach Jay. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, Coach Paul. Question for the chat. Is the intro video choppy for you guys? Check that out. I think it's something on my side. But happy Friday, everybody. We'll figure that out later. Happy Friday. Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, the goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity. We want to see how we could take advantage of those opportunities while managing our risk. I'm Coach Jay, been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023, and that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep for 2 years. I've been involved in the futures trading industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share my experience, knowledge, and help you become a better trader.
Awesome stuff. Thank you for that, Coach Paul. You are all our chat. Thank you for joining us on this Friday. Let's review what happened in the markets, but let us know in the chat how you did this week. Were you up on the week, down on the week, flat on the week? Anything that you learned from this week, put it in the chat. Put it in your trade journals. Take it into next week. I ended the week green. Always good. But it wasn't the easiest week to trade for me. Kind of up and down, but good week. Linus Rain says green day and week. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, I had a red week. Got chopped, but that comes with the territory.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Tom Quimby, I have been tariffed. But that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I think I've been tariffed too.
Tony Offerman up 12K for the week. Nice. Christian up
Nice.
about $1,200 for the week. Gave back 350 today. It's not too bad. Learned a lot from Lisa. Live trade at number 2. Yeah, Lisa's trade Tuesday was trade of the week for sure. She bought the S&Ps and let the auto liquidator close the trade pretty much. That's an amazing trade. If you didn't see that, go back and watch Fast Markets. She came in halfway through Fast Markets and kind of explained her trade and why she was holding on to it. Sahaj up on the week. Shubham up, learned a lot. Good stuff. Din, I blew 5 XFAs because of tilt today. And that's always going to be the other side of it. You heard Coach Paul say he had a red week as well. Din, when you review what you did, maybe take some time away. Consider whether or not there was something that you could have done to prevent the loss of the accounts. Prevent the loss of the accounts. My sound just changed. Do I sound different to you guys?
You sound the same to me.
All right. Okay, keep going. But see if there's something that you could have done to, maybe set a personal daily loss limit that you didn't have in place or something like that that could have kept your accounts. All right. But let's get into the markets. We did have some news out. We did have University of Michigan sentiment final number come in today. 52.2, forecast was 51.5. We also had Chicago PMI coming at 40.5, forecast was 45. We had PCE numbers come out earlier this morning as well. Core PCE price index year over year came in at 2.5%. Forecast was 2.5%, so no change there. But again, the unplanned headlines take precedent over the planned headlines. And we had some comments about from the president about China not holding up their end of the agreement when it comes to tariffs. And we saw a sell-off. Then the markets rallied as well. I think more than ever, Coach Paul, now is the time to just focus on technicals and trade because the news is like a soap opera every day, trying to keep up with what's going on, and could cloud your judgment in new trades, I think.
As the White House turns is the name of the soap opera. I
Right.
think it's creating a lot of randomness. But like you said, focus on your technicals and on your trading process. Even though I had a losing week, I followed the rules. I followed my process. it's just going to be that way. I can't control that. Um, but um, I just saw someone in here. You had DLL how many times this week? Um,
Every
I
day
don't know
except
what
today.
your DLL is. Is that the 50%? Probably probably not. Maybe two things. If you're it could be too tight. Um, but that's usually not the case. Check out what your why you're using your DLL at its current um level and see if you can make adjustments.
Yeah, 100%. Shout out to Andrew. Thanks, Topstep. 30 hours from payout request to receiving it in the bank. Steak dinner this weekend. Andrew, great trading, man. Um, and like I said on X, Andrew is the best chat moderator in the futures trading industry, and he's getting payouts as well. So shout out to you, Andrew. Great trading, man.
Great job, Andrew. And I hope you hedged your purchase of steak with buying some cattle, well, live cattle futures, because
Right.
it's getting awfully expensive.
N slug, does blowing accounts piss you off at some point? Yeah, I mean, at some point you got to ask yourself, right? If you're just cycling through accounts, you got to ask yourself, like, hey, what am I actually doing here? Right? Am I gambling? Am I just feeding a need for dopamine, or am I actually trying to make money from this? Right? At the end of the day, it may everyone's on a different path, and it may take you a little bit longer to make money than others. At the end of the day, if you're just cycling accounts because you're on emotional tilt, you got to ask yourself whether or not you're going to stop. And does it piss you off at some point? But I think it's more of questioning the decisions that I'm making. Why am I continuing to do this if it's not working? Uh, 35 different markets we can trade with top step accounts. And today, to the downside, we had natural gas down 1.56%, platinum down 2.45%. And I had a platinum trade on uh, that where it ended on the day was my target. I didn't hold it to my target, but that's trading. Soybean oil down 3.08%. To the upside, we had copper up 0.43%, Canadian dollar up 0.51%. We don't hear that often. And lean hogs up 1.82% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. It's crazy that the equities pretty much flat with all of the price action that we had for the day. But to talk about our big four, we had crude oil down 0.05%, the S&P down 0.16%, gold down 0.84%, and the Nasdaq down 0.22% to round out our big four. I got an S&P monthly chart up here, Coach Paul. This is the last trading day of the month. What are we looking at?
Well, nice month. Um, as we've been following the mother of all wicks, and then last month looks very positive, continuing to capture the upside in equities. N- Now, it'll be interesting if we can next month, if we get to the old highs. It could happen pretty quick. But it all depends on the next tweet, I guess. How about you? You see anything there?
Yeah, a good month. That's the first green month we've had in 3 months. So looking pretty good. I think we wondering if we're green or red on the year. Guess I could tell right here. Here's the yearly open. We are still red on the year. Uh, but looking pretty bullish. But again, like you said, fundamentally, we are clearly not at a point where everything is in the clear, right? Where a tweet can come out and say, "Hey, they're not holding up their part of the deal," and the market starts to sell off. Uh, at some point, and I think we've heard a couple people say it during the week this week on Top TV. It's at some point, does the market just stop caring and do what it's going to do and kind of shake off some of these headlines? Um, I think unless we see escalations in tariffs, right, where we saying, "Hey, I'm adding more tariffs," I think that's what's happening. Right? It's like, "Hey, they're not doing what they're supposed to do." It's like, did the numbers change? No. Okay, so we can continue rallying. We will see. We'll see. I try not to make too much. many predictions, especially longer term, because as the White House turns, like you said, Coach Paul.
That could be a theme or a
Yeah.
meme. Oh,
Uh,
I'll just leave it at that. After
yep.
seeing some of the stuff go on today, I'm just kind of stunned.
We did talk about. I pull up the Nasdaq chart here. We did get a confirmed 3-bar reversal on the monthly and the NQ futures. We needed to close above 21,327. Nasdaq's trading 21,358 right now. Still technically hasn't closed yet. We got 30 minutes or so before we get a settle, but we're above that high. Above that high. Does this look any different to you than the S&P, Coach Paul?
Um, Not at all. Not at all. But to be honest with you,
Yep.
you know, though, yeah, let's. I mean, we can make a case too that this could be turning. I don't. Right now, it's not.
Mhm.
We're at critical area here.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, this could make we could get to those highs and make a double top and turn. But as you said, opinions rest in the future. Facts are in the present, and the present fact is we're looking pretty good.
Pretty good. Let's take a look, just quick scan at the Russell, a little weaker, and the
Rusty
Dow.
just ain't doing it, is it?
No, it's not. The Dow either. They got a little catch up to play, but maybe everyone rushes to the Nasdaq because it moves faster. Uh, but yeah, these still have a little bit of catch up to play. Go back to the S&P for a second. We'll talk about shorter time frame. Let's take a look at what happened today. Here's
Yeah.
today's price action, Coach Paul. What do we have here?
We have end of the month action, I believe, even more than the headlines and all the drama. Whatever. This is the end of the month positioning. Um, I'd imagine there was what we used to call window dressing buying on the close. Um, I mean, look at that. Down, up, unchanged.
Yep.
I don't now I thought this was going it had the it looked like it was gonna rally, was holding that 200 into the close last night. Overnight volume and movement was nil.
A whole
I
lot of
mean,
nothing.
so let's go to the a day only pro, let's get rid
Take a
of that
look.
night.
Regular trading hour session only. Add the open here. This is a half hour open. Let's go down to a shorter time frame chart. I want to call it. Anne Marie had a great trade earlier today, but here's today's regular trading hour only.
Yeah. Wow. Um I think we did have a J trade off the lows.
We did. We did. Shout out to Anne Marie. She did take that trade. If you guys were watching the segment she was on with Eddie and D, she got long in the S&P around 58.82, I believe it was. She took it on a higher time frame chart, right? A lot of times we're looking at this trade on a 3-minute chart, Coach Paul, at least for me. And we
Yeah.
got it lower, right? We got it down here. What I and we've said this before, but if I look for the highest volume, it's this one. But that's a constraint of the time frame that I'm using. Because the very next candle was pretty high volume as well, but it wasn't the highest, right? So where did we start to frame? It's looking at this general area to not hold. Anne-Marie took this trade, I believe, on a 30-minute chart. Or no, she took it on an hourly chart. Was it an hour or 30-minute?
Well,
Whatever it was. Go ahead.
let's look at the 5 minute too.
Oh,
Because
well, yeah, a little different. 5-minute, you get this
yeah,
one.
so what I've been noticing that pattern is the 5 and the 3 are very similar.
Yeah.
If you look at there was two 3-minute candles, 6-minute candle-ish, and not today, I wasn't watching it, but I've noticed that if you see that kind of structure, and we've seen it a couple times in the 3-minute,
Yeah.
and I look at the 5-minute and get a little more clarity.
Mm.
But um, that look, I don't know, what was that news off the Michigan sentiment?
No,
Um,
so this was I believe the China headline stuff. Michigan sentiment was much earlier in the day, right? This is Michigan sentiment here, which gave us a decent long volume, left that range to the upside. You had a decent trade back up to kind of close the gap into settlement. But then we had the headlines that came out. There's just a lot of back and forth action today.
and to see
Uh,
that ties into what I'm saying at the end of the month.
yeah,
And then, first of all, there was the tweet early about China, so I get confused. Where's that meme you had? It's on, it's off, it's on, it's
oh yeah.
off.
Did I
Um,
delete it?
I get that. There it is.
That was this price action today for sure.
So, but that was definitely a blowout bottom. I mean, and right back to unchanged. Now,
Right.
another
Back.
another thing is on the daily, on the S&P at least, we're playing with the 200-day moving average. Nasdaq is farther away from it, and I think we touched that was it. We touched the 20.
Pretty close to that 20. That was the low of the day. And
Yeah,
bounce right off of it. And that 200 moving average on the daily is flat. Look at all the indecision in these candles that we've had. We'll see what June brings, but a lot of indecision in this area. The 20 moving average still has not crossed above 200 in the S&Ps. It has in the Nasdaq. But again, we talked about 2022 did trade above the 200 moving average at a point. Mark couldn't hold above it, sold back off. So is
so
this
the
year
next
different? It could be. Go ahead, Coach.
next frame is that 20-day moving average is coming hard and fast.
Hmm.
I to me, that's if it settles beneath both of those, we'll probably go right down to the 50 in a hurry.
Yeah.
But first, we have to close below it.
Anything else you have on the equities today, Coach Paul?
Um, Nothing else. Violently unchanged
I
is all
locked
I can
myself
say.
out. I locked myself out this morning before all the volatility.
Did you really?
Yeah,
What? Why didn't I do that?
you know what it was. Because we've been talking about end of the month, right? And so I missed all of that action. But we've been talking about end of the month and it being somewhat of a consolidated day, probably until the close. So I was looking at a trade in, I think it was the Russell. I was looking at a trade in. Second, yeah, I was looking at taking this trade in the Russell,
Mm,
this long here off of 69, and it bounced a couple of times, and I didn't take it, so then I locked myself out. Uh, when I saw the market sell off, I was happy that I locked myself out, um, because I may have been long. I probably would have taken profits, to be honest, but yeah, I missed all of this.
yeah. Well, then,
Maybe if I had better discipline and just walked away instead of having to lock myself out, but I felt it. I was gonna get chopped up in this range, so used the features, locked it up for a positive day, and I'm okay with it. But yeah, nice trades all around.
nice, good job.
Uh, go over to gold. Monthly chart in gold. What is
A
that?
little rest. Wow. Um, Just the rest. The inside, last month's huge move. Um, Nothing much else to say there.
I did not
Um,
expect that daily candle. I mean, that monthly candle to look like that. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know what I expected, but it wasn't that.
um, we expected a higher high, at least in my imagination, but slowing down. But the trend has not been broken. It was actually a selling. I finished lower on the month by a degree. But that's not topish to me yet.
No,
Anything you see on that?
I agree with us kind of staying in this, inside month, where maybe it looked like we were going to get some resolution on some other things and other markets were going to rally. We see gold sell a little bit, but it really hasn't gone anywhere. So no, nothing really changed there. Let's take a look at today's price action. Here's last night's open. It's fading kind of right back into the range where we've been in. I know gold has been in rollover as well, so maybe that's why we're not seeing as much of a directional move in the last week or so. Uh, but last night, that was a pretty nice sell.
Yeah, that was. I know they look at is that when the Chinese gold market opened when we popped up like that?
This one here, yeah.
Hmm. That seems to be a pattern.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I we could probably look at the opening range as that 8 p.m. Central, right? The overnight open. That's
Yeah,
probably the better spot to
volume
look.
comes in, but and it's funny. It goes right back to that open, tests it.
Yep.
Um, but boy, that was a great trade last night. I did a micro on it. Um, I got the 2 to 1, but end of the month, you would think, looking at that monthly, I would have thought was much more dramatic than that.
Agreed.
Still on the daily, we're still caught in a sideways action. Um, where's that 200 moving average? Yeah, we're still on. So, wow, look at that breakout. Came from what? The 200.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Tried to push it above, they couldn't, held it below, the 20 couldn't cross above. Volume comes in, sells it right away. That's a beautiful trade right there. Man, where
Yeah,
was
that
I?
was
What was I
construction.
doing? I was watching the Knicks. Watching
Yeah,
the Knicks.
congratulations.
Let's go
They played
Knicks.
defense last night.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, they did. 2 more. 2 more.
Oh,
Uh,
so going forward this weekend, I mean that still not in gold. It's still feeling kind of pressure, but we got to get over that 200 to capture the upside, obviously. But that can happen real quick.
yes, it can. Adem, is this a fib that I'm drawing? I am using the fib retracement tool, but I am only looking at the high, low, and 50% of the move. So you can see I have 0, 0.5, and 1. Uh, I'm not using the other fib levels that are there. I'm just boxing out a high volume candle, right? In this case, this was the opening range on a 30-minute, right? So I'm just looking at the high and low of that opening range. And the someone had asked about the line, which is pink, which is not supposed to be pink. It's supposed to be red. So let me change that. Uh, and that's VWAP. All right. Platinum. I want to talk about platinum real quick. I did take a platinum short this morning. Uh, Similar trade, but we had this. I think it was this volume candle right here. Once we closed below it, I was short here and looking for 56 as the target. Um, and there's a bunch of different markets to trade. This is where my profits came from on the day. Getting short platinum, while everything else was kind of figuring out what it was doing. Ton of different markets to trade. Ton of different markets to trade. Uh, Crude oil. Look at crude on a this month. What do we think this monthly candle is going to look like?
Kind of like every other month for the last 3 years. Oh, okay. I was exaggerating. The last 2 years. Um, did we break out of the range?
Which range?
Oh, the lows right there. Nope, we're still, yeah, not really. We didn't close below that. We closed at it. Hmm.
What is this market? What is this? What is this?
Hey, stability in energy prices,
There you go.
I guess. Um, wow. On my way back from Ohio, in the middle of Ohio, I paid 2.58 for gas.
Nice.
I wanted to put some in all my containers and because
It's at least $1 more in the city, right?
$1.25.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
because we have better streets. All right, I'm not going there. But you know, if it's at the bottom here of the range, we kind of extended it a little bit. No, we didn't. Um,
No.
wow.
No extension, just range bound, chop fest. Let's go to the daily because we've been talking about this daily. We did
We did.
close under the 20 moving average for the first time in almost a month. So that's a little different, right? We've been talking about this kind of ping pong pattern between the 50 and the 20-day moving average. We closed below the 20 today on increased volume, higher than average volume. So maybe we get an extension. Uh, I don't know that I would bet on it, but we
Well,
tried
being
at
the
least.
end of the month, also, and when we talk about end of the month, especially with large funds do adjustments
Mhm.
at the end of the month. Some of it is just to get paid. Um, other it's different allocations, and it can affect markets. But it did close under the 20 v- on decent volume. Um, but I'm nothing that sure is not my play of the day.
No, not at all. Not at all. But if you're trading crude oil, props to you. You're probably a range trader, and you're saying, "Hey, I don't care what these guys see. I'm going to trade this range until it gets out of it." Because there's definitely opportunity in that, right? In trading this range. This is a 30-minute chart, and from this high down to the low of the day was a 3% move. So it's moving.
Yeah, it's just
It's in
actually
a range.
when we talked about it, it's a great range trading
Great range to trade.
vehicle right now. Have at it. And it doesn't do it violently. It just melts both sides.
Right.
So
Especially if you're looking at a higher time frame. Like looking at this on a 30-minute chart looks pretty clean. Uh, but I have not traded crude oil much. Right. Anything else on crude, coach, or any other markets you want to talk about? Probably do a quick one today. I feel like there wasn't too much to talk about, but anything else you got?
um let's look at the bond chart, starting with the monthly.
And then we do have a couple of questions in the chat as well, so we will get to those. And if you guys do have any other questions, let us know. But here is the bond chart on the monthly. You said
Yeah,
the 30-year on the monthly.
we're still in a downtrend. Boy, I mean, that doesn't look very bottomish to me. We got to get over that. Maybe we do. But if we put a line from the lows of the move, and then yeah, even just let's try that. Like, we keep going back to it. This could be a massive move to the downside, unexpected.
Hmm.
We're not there yet. The ranges are getting tighter. But overall, that monthly, when we break that trend line, we break the new lows, could get really ugly. But we're captured. Hmm, there's going to be some big opportunity in the bonds. Let's go to the daily.
Good stuff. Billy in the chat, thank you for that reminder for oil. There's a big OPEC this weekend. So we may see some
Uh,
interesting open for oil on Sunday. Here's the daily, Coach Paul.
keep those. Oh yeah, I like those. Keep those trend lines there. We're still under the 200. The daily, we did bounce off of that trend line. Well, it made that trend line. Um, got to the 20 where we're kind of slowed down. Um, it still looks really heavy to me. Um, Meeting in the White House or not, remember the Fed cannot control the bond market. They can, it's too big, and they can manipulate the short end, but not the long end. And we're still in the midst of this trade war with China. Um, hmm, Stay tuned.
Stay tuned. Uh, Markets have been presenting opportunity. A couple of them. Where can I buy this hat? Amadeus. I got you with a link. Here you go. Shop.topstep.com. Get all your Top Step gear. You can get a rain jacket if you want. Baby's onesies, right? If you want to put your kids in Top Step gear, you can do all of that there. Uh, I need to get a new one actually. I need to get a new
Yeah,
one.
so
And
do I. Mine is getting a little musty.
yeah, I gotta get a new one. Bink says everyone needs to get long one like button smash. I agree with you, Bink. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. Uh,
I like what Billy said about that bond chart. Flip it over, it's going to the moon.
was that about the bonds, Billy, or was that about crude oil? Either way, they both kind of look the same, right? And maybe not crude oil. Crude oil looks like
It's
yeah,
the same,
it's
inverted or
right. It's not going
exverted.
anywhere. Yeah, there are new. Go ahead.
And that bond would mean to the moon with interest rates. And that, I'm just, yeah, look at that. That's a different, whoa. Thank you for bringing that. That's interest rates.
Right.
And that's why Ray Dalio keeps on top of this. If I were in a trade war and I were another country that you want, and then I wanted to throw a shot, where could I hurt my opponent the most is right there.
Yep. Yep. All right. Any other markets we want to talk about, Coach Paul?
Um,
Oh,
Nothing else.
let's get to some questions. We got some questions
Yeah.
here. From Billy, is there anything to infer from comparing something like a monthly gold versus a monthly equity chart?
Well, let's do it.
Let's do it. Two charts. I'm going to put the NASDAQ up on the left, put gold up on the right.
Oh, I have the Jen. Oh, it's actually for babies. I thought the
Oh,
onesies were for adults.
no,
And,
no, they're actual babies, like baby
uh,
onesies. Put your baby in a onesie. Funny. Why is this chart inverted?
all right.
Okay. On the left, monthly NASDAQ. On the right, monthly gold. What are you seeing there, coach?
Buying.
In both of them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think
Wow.
the common consensus is that the equities and gold are inversely related. But if you look at the correlation matrix that I just put in the chat, over the last 30 days, there is a negative, and however they count, this website counts the points, negative 48, right? So they don't really see that as a correlation that's really much to pay attention to, because if you look at that chart, it'll show up as either green or red, as something that I should really pay attention to. So and then if you go out even further, right, if you go to a 60-day correlation, that number for the Nasdaq is an 8, which is pretty much flat, right? Basically saying that there's I think what we think about and what is actually happening is completely different, at least for right now, right? Both of these markets are being bought.
Yeah. And that would give it correlation. I've also seen a study that stocks do well in inflationary times. It's when the interest rates change is when they don't. But I trade each in personally. I trade each market as its own.
Same here. Uh, all right, let's get to some questions. Adem has a question. Do you enter a trade at the 50% retest as long as you are below or above VWAP? Adem, that's a good question. Uh, hmm, I'm going to say it depends. You know, what we're looking for and how we execute can be two different things. Let's say, for example, for me, what I'm looking to do normally, let's say I frame out this high volume candle here. Actually, let's go over to the Nasdaq. Use the Nasdaq. Let's say that I framed out this candle here and I'm waiting for a close above it to go long, close above here. At this point, with VWAP being this low, I'm probably okay just taking the trade with my stop below VWAP, right? Uh, if we get, and I would have to kind of find an example of something like this. It really it all depends on the angle of VWAP, right? If this VWAP leaves sharply, I may not be looking at this 50% anymore, right? That 50% might now be my risk, right? Where I don't want it to get above 50%. So the answer is it depends. Something like this, where the market's trending up, I could only see that this one hit that 50% perfectly. You can see this little volume spike right here, right? But VWAP didn't necessarily leave that range yet. If I want to get long, then I can buy near that 50%. I don't want to buy above the high. It depends. I don't think there's a perfect way to say it. It's like you teach someone how to shoot a basketball, but then they're going to shoot it their way. The goal is to get the ball in the basket.
Yeah, and if they're consistent, you don't want to change it.
Right. Right. Uh, how much do you always keep in your funded account? How do you manage that? A good question. I think keep enough of a buffer to feel comfortable. Um, if we're talking about a personal account, keep enough there that you don't have to make another deposit into that account, even if you see a drawdown, right? If you're talking about a funded account like an XFA or a live account, same thing. Keep enough there where you don't have to reset if if you take a couple losses or you see a week or two or of drawdown. Um, so I would say if you've never paid yourself, take some money out just to know what that process is like. But if you've taken payouts and you don't need the money right away, try to clear that initial drawdown because that's what you've been accustomed to trading with. And then anything above that, take a percentage of that excess as your payout. So that way you can continue to build the account and still pay yourself.
Yeah, I like the idea is 50%.
Hmm.
Um, but I'm a little different. I like to build it up a little more
Yeah.
so you can start taking 50% out and have a cushion because there will be drawdowns. Don't fool yourself.
Yep. What was my journey of becoming a performance coach? Trading for a while, trading with Topstep, speaking to some of the Top Step team and then being asked from my experience with trading and coaching outside of this, right? I coached basketball for a very long time as well. Hey, you want to be a coach? And then we went through an interview, all that other stuff. And here we are. Shout out to Eddie Horn. Uh, I had a question. Okay, Din Din, how do I deal with the mindset of wanting to rush the process? I know I am profitable, and my issue is I always oversize when I lose.
Wait a minute. You always oversize when you lose. Now let's go into that a little deeper. Are you adding to a loser? That's why it's a bigger trade, or are you just putting on more size and then it's a bigger loss? Because the big question there. First of all, you should have your size consistent. I mean, it's either going to be it's a percentage of your equity. Um, you don't want to have too big because then you can't afford to be wrong. On the other side is, and it seems like when you get losing trade, you kind of cannonball it. That seems like that's the answer. Cannonball being adding to a loser. So check that out. If you're doing that, immediately, immediately stop and understand consistent size. If your size is not consistent, you're going to have very volatile results.
Uh, yeah, I 100% agree with you, Coach Paul. And I think why you said, "Hey, whoa, let's slow that down a little bit," because I always oversize when I lose, and I know I am profitable. Uh, that scene sounds like, and I can say this because I've done it. That sounds like ego driven. I need to be right trading, and that's a place that a lot of us find ourselves at times, and we need to work out of that, right? Where there's just going to be a percentage of time where things aren't going to work out, right? But if you say, I know I'm profitable is good, right? You know you can be a profitable trader, but that doesn't mean that you're not going to lose trades. And if your profitability looks like you have to be right for every trade, that's a little concerning because it's just almost impossible to keep that up. How do I deal with the mindset of wanting to rush the process? Did half of it already. You acknowledged that you're trying to rush the process. So I'm going to ask you, what has rushing the process gotten you this far? And are you willing to slow down to actually get the results that you want? It,
Perfect. Wow. Great answer, coach.
you too, Coach Paul. That's why we're good at
Hey,
this. That's why I like working with you.
that's why I like working with you. We've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah, we have. Yes, we
Maybe
have.
we should have a party.
Couple months maybe, or a couple
Yeah,
weeks maybe.
couple
Uh,
weeks.
all right. How do you set up Anchor VWAP, VicG? Uh, in the drawing tools, 5 icons down, you have these projection tools. Halfway through that menu, you got anchored VWAP. Put a star next to it because you're going to use it every day. And it's going to show up in this drawing panel. And it's the two candles with the line going through it. Click on that and click on a candle, and that anchors your VWAP from there. You can leave the settings standard. I think mine are changed to open, high, low, close divided by 4. I'm going to be honest with you, it's not much of a change. Right? That line moved like a pixel. We don't need to, we're not dissecting frogs here. Uh, Donald Keys, that is a great karaoke song. Great karaoke song.
We'll,
Great
we'll have
karaoke
to
song.
have you sing that and
That
record
is
it.
that is a shout out to Shabuzi. That is a great karaoke song. I got nothing else, Coach Paul. We got 15 minutes. We can give the people back 15 minutes unless there's anything on your heart, on your mind that you need to get out for today, or if you guys have any questions.
Well, let's say we got a few more questions here. These are good questions. Janish,
Hmm.
coach, I have a question as well. When I win small, but when I lose big amount. How do we overcome this? Okay. Great question. Um, First of all, you need to start measuring your risk reward parameters in a trading plan. What do I mean by that? You hear us talking, can I get a 2 to 1? When we do the opening range breakout or a J trade, measure that you're whenever you take a trade, you need to have consistent risk parameters. What seems to me is like, and this is a very common thing, see money, take money kind of mentality is doesn't analyze risk reward. So, and the other common thing is, and this is very human, it's not right yet because we don't, there was a study of traders, humans, far out um, are annoyed or emotionally upset on a loss versus a gain. It's an important thing to understand. We just hate losses, but we'll take just kind of any kind of winner. Start measuring your trades in risk reward as a percentage of your capital. That's my suggestion. Anything to add, Coach?
The question was, how do I deal with the tilt of taking profit early and seeing the price launch? Maybe was it that question? No, there was a different question. But I
No,
think it was a
taking
similar question.
small, yeah, taking small wins and bigger losses.
Okay. Uh, you, to me, you're probably choking your trades a little bit. Anytime you see green, you're just, you're so attached to a trade being green that as soon as it happens, you don't want to give any of that money back. Um, in the same sense, when a trade is red, all you can think about is I want this trade to be green instead of I need to trade my process and I can't accept any red. I can't accept a loss. If your losses shouldn't be big, right? Maybe you can work on expanding uh, your profits, right? But your losses should never be big, right? Those can be controlled. You can't control your winners. We can measure them and see where we think the market is going to go, but the market's going to go wherever it wants to. Uh, but your losses have to be like starting Monday. Your losses have to be limited to a certain point, um, and shouldn't cost you your account. There was a question from Smooth AIF. How do I deal with the tilt of taking profit early and seeing the price launch maybe half a minute later? Andrew's answer: wait 30 seconds before you close your trade. Just give it another 30 seconds. That was hilarious. So I had to share that. But I did it today. Look at this trade. Maybe it wasn't 30 seconds, but I got in short platinum here. Risk was up there.
We lost your
Oh, you should be able to hear
voice
me now. Be able to hear me
there.
now. Uh, the target was 1048. I took one off at 1060. That wasn't even a 1-to-1, and then the other one I took off at a 1-to-1. How do I deal with the tilt? I accept the result of the decisions that I make regardless of the result. Completely accept it, right? You decided to do this. So, you could have made another decision and said, "Let it go to its profit target." Could have made
Yeah,
another decision and let it go to your profit target, but you didn't. So anytime I, I was on Slow Markets with Dakota on Wednesday, and he was talking about moving a stop loss that he had in a gold trade. He said, "Jay, I moved my stop into profit, but I want to move it back up. Um, is that wrong to do?" And I told him, "Nothing's wrong. There's no right or wrong decisions in trading. They're all decisions, and you have to ask yourself, are you comfortable living with the results of whatever that decision is?" Right? If you move your stop and you understand that you're going to give back more money, you're completely accepting that. Now you tell yourself whether or not that's wrong or right. Right? Dakota, he had a $1,600 profit in a trade. He was then going to go risk, instead of securing 160 bucks. he was going to go risk 600 of that instead. You're making a decision. If that decision plays out and you lose money, are you cool with that? And why I say that is in that sense, he's measuring it, right? If that trade then goes and stops him out, now he throws on 15 contracts because of that result, then don't make that decision. If you know a decision that you're going to make is going to throw you on a tilt, don't make that decision, right? Because you're telling yourself that, hey, I'm not actually okay with this, but I want to do it because it's giving me the opportunity to make more money. If you know that if that goes against you, you're going to do something crazy, don't do it. This sucks. Did I want this trade to hit my profit target? I did, but I made my decisions, and I'm not looking at this and saying I should have made more money. I shouldn't have, because right here is where I decided that I wasn't going to make any more money out of that trade. I can't go back and change my decisions. Hopefully that made sense. Uh, Din Din, uh, your lost XFAs. I see you got a lot of questions here. What would be your sizing for a 50K? How much would you lose? How much would you risk per trade, NQ point or dollar wise? What would be your DLL? What would be the parameters to stop trading? Okay, so there's a lot of questions there. Din Din, I know you just lost those 50K accounts going into the weekend. What I do want to say is, you know, you lost the accounts. Take some time to decompress a little, right? And not try to jump right back in right away. Because especially if you're thinking about the accounts that you just lost. Uh the sizing for a 50K account, I don't think anyone in the beginning of the account should be trading more than 3 micros in any, and that's max position size for these accounts. Anything else gets into over leverage just based on what uh, this the size of the account, right? If you're trading a 50K account, you're not trading 50K, you're trading $2,000. A 3 micro trade in the Nasdaq and eat up that loss limit pretty quick. So consider trading with one, right? Starting small, being honest about where you are in your trading right now. And if you're trading a prop account and a 50K account, that's fine. That's okay. But you have to give yourself an opportunity to survive in that account. And that's trading 1 micro, 2 micros. I was on with Ali the other day, and he said in a 150K account in an XFA, he starts it out with 1 micro until he gets that account to $1,000 and then goes to two, right? So um, don't be ashamed of trading small. You might see trading influencers or whoever, people on YouTube and they're, people on Twitter, and they're trading 30 contracts and 50 contracts and whatever. They're also getting paid by someone to fluff their accounts, right? And shout out to them, right? If you have a stream of income where you can trade bigger size, great. But what that does is kind of push everyone towards trading bigger size because you see big P&Ls. You're not at that point yet, so trade small. Um, Dollar wise risk. How many days would you give yourself, Coach Paul, in a 50K account, $2,000 drawdown?
How much risk? 12% and in one day. And maybe this helps. Think in percentages rather than money. One of the things when you think of percentages takes away the attachment of the things we think with money.
Hmm?
That all of that drama can be a burden subconsciously. When you think in percentages, okay, that 10%, 12%. Well, 10% is of $2,000 is 200, so 250 in a day. That's the reality. You can that goes to 1 or 2 micros.
Yep.
All right, because the idea of the combine is to test you on how you can manage money.
Right.
Because without a balance, you're out. So start slow, understand that those percentages, and size up accordingly. Um, Yeah, 12% in one day. I don't. Yeah, you start thinking in percentages. If your 401k was down 12% in one day, you'd be worried, wouldn't you?
Right.
Now, this is a trading environment. It's leveraged, and you're, the 401k is driving a old Nova. You're driving a Ferrari here. And if you don't know how to hold on into the curves, you're going to end up over the curve. So think in percentages. Yeah, that when you start thinking about that, you you can start realizing how much money you can really afford to trade on one trade and go from there. I would when I first started, I had no clue. I kind of like this. I'll buy 10, literally. If someone was offering, I wanted to play. I had no risk management, and that was in the trading pit. I'll give you this: it was a lot easier to get out. Like if I took a 10 lot, I'm leaning on paper that was bidding for a couple hundred. I knew that I give it about less than 15 seconds. If no one took any, then I just sold it to the paper. That is pure scalping. You can't scalp here. It's not available in that definition, because it's just a matter of time before, whoops, I didn't get out, and all of a sudden you get a tweet that pounds you, and now where are you at? So understanding and managing the account, I go through this a lot. That's going to help you in your risk management and realization that you're managing money, not managing the market. I hope that helps.
So, Coach Paul. All right, Din Din. We this is the Din Din show, and we actually do have a casting call link. Let me see if I can find that. If anyone wants to come on at the buzzer with Coach Paul and I, and talk about your trading, we're gonna put this out there. Got it from Dolby. Actually, I'm not gonna share it yet. I don't think it's ready. But we want some of our guests to come on and talk to us about trading. All right. So Dindin, you said you're 24 years old. You've been trading futures since last October. You've taken 15K in payouts. My mental just goes haywire. May was the toughest month for me ever. Trading options for a year, but wasn't serious. I'm good most days, but suddenly I go crazy for a day and it all goes down the well. Those one days, so listen, you're still young. You're 24 years old, right? That's about when I started trading, uh, and you've made some money pretty quick, right? 15K since October, and you just started trading in October. Made 15K pretty quick. Um, Slow yourself down. And if we weren't on the stream, I would say it a different way, right? If I didn't think we were gonna get this video taken down, slow down, right? You're doing really well, but your your expectations are probably not meeting what your reality is, or you don't think it is, right? If you might have expectations and it's not your fault, right? You see, and I'm not saying this is you, but people come to trading because they saw somebody sitting in a Lambo, and they're just like, oh, hey, I want to do that as well, and I want to get that. And if I'm making $200 a day, I'm never going to get there. You don't Everyone starts at a different starting spot, and where you see people, you're meeting them where you met them, right? So you don't know what anyone's beginning to their journey is. The beginning to your journey is you made 15K in about 7 months for something that you just started doing, which is a pretty damn good start. But if you try to play the game that somebody else is playing right now, you're going to continue to mentally throw yourself for a loop every single time. JT just said it, slow the F down. You're doing really well. You said you were copying 5 XFAs. You started trading futures in since last October. So you're clearly able to do something right, but what you haven't learned how to do, and what every trader needs to learn how to do, is manage downside. And that's why you keep going crazy, because your expectations are only to make money. I just said on the show yesterday, I have a red year. I'm red on the year so far, and I keep coming back, right? Mentally, that could I should be like, hey, maybe I should just stop, right? But I've been through this before, right? And you get scars and you do this and you're just saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm okay. I need to allot a certain amount of money that I'm going to to give to this." But then outside of that, I have to slow down and know that this is a long game, right? If you try to sprint a marathon, you might die.
I'll
So
add one other
go ahead,
thing
Coach
to
Paul.
that. Coach has great advice. And what in slowing down is you started in October.
Right.
You started at a great time. Explosion in volatility.
Yep.
It gave you a gave an outside um it gave an opportunity for outsized gains, but the regime has changed. Look at the VWAP. Start understanding volatility. Follow VWAP. What will happen is when that volatility changes, you want the same results you were getting, and it's not available. So we start as traders, we start changing our, they call it style drift. We start changing our size, then we start changing everything because we really want that big ass money where we're making.
Yeah.
So maybe that's it, and understand that that you did really well in an environment that allowed you to do really well, but that was outside the norm, and then you have to adjust with size and trades. What will happen is you start chasing like, wait a minute, I need to make that.
Yep.
Done it.
Yeah. We have all been there. So again, great start to your trading career. I think you're learning lessons that we've all learned. You make some money early. I want to keep doing it. But what happens when the market punches back? That's what you're learning right now. Market punch you back a little bit, right? Don't go crazy. Figure it out. Figure it out. All right. What time frame do I trade Sandeep? The 30-minute and the 3-minute. Anything else you got, Coach Paul?
No, it's time. It's Friday.
Yes, it is.
Go out there this weekend, touch some grass, get some rest,
Yeah.
spend an hour on reviewing your week for some lessons, and then enjoy yourself. That's all I got.
Good stuff, 100%. And that message, Coach Paul says it at the end of every week. I really hope people listen to that, right? Spend an hour at most. I don't care if you won or lost, if you had a winning week or a losing week, spend an hour at most and go enjoy some time off the charts. I was talking to Andre a little bit yesterday while I was running one of the segments, and he was just like, "Man, trading is one of the best gigs there is out there, but it's still a job at the end of the day, and you can hear it in everyone's voice at the end of the day on a Friday on Top Step TV. Everyone's just like, man, I just can't wait for the weekend." When I worked my 9 to 5 job, I enjoyed it, but I wasn't looking for work on the weekends, right? I was looking to get away so then I can appreciate time when I get back to work. And it's the same thing here, right? This is a job at the end of the day. It's not who you are, um, and appreciate life outside of these charts. Thank you everyone for joining. Thanks for the great questions. Enjoy your weekend, Coach Paul. Enjoy that Guinness.
No, I shall, and enjoy your wine or whatever you're drinking this weekend,
Yes, sir.
or perhaps you're not drinking. It doesn't matter. Enjoy, get some rest, enjoy life.
Enjoy your life. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you on Monday. Remember, Anne Marie is doing the Sunday Open, Sunday kickoff. I think I might be joining her. I got to confirm that. Got to check my schedule. But Anne Marie doing the weekly kickoff. I believe Coach Hoop is doing a class in about 10 minutes in Discord. Happy birthday to my dad. He is turning 60 years old on Sunday. Nope,
Happy
Monday.
birthday,
Birthday's
Dad.
Monday. So we're celebrating that this weekend. Have a good one, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.